second school board meeting for February 2020, and we have established a quorum around this board. And tonight, I would like to ask Dr. Chris Barnes, our new HR chief, to lead us in the pledge. Is he still in the building? There he is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have been duly initiated, Dr. Barnes.
Thank you,
And then we have our agenda in front of us. We have a fairly lengthy consent agenda. We will, again, not read it tonight, but we will allow an opportunity for everybody to look at it tonight, and then I will entertain a motion and a second to pass the consent agenda as presented to us tonight.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Who seconded?
All of us.
Okay, all right. Can I show of hands to vote on the consent agenda? Okay, passed unanimously, Ms. Bobo. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a much easier way of doing that. Next on the agenda is we have Dr. Tammy Grissom here from Tennessee School Board Association to present us with our slate of candidates for our permanent director of schools. Dr. Grissom.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the board. Cameo, if you don't mind, if you'll pass out the notebooks at this time, and then I'll get started.
You can open it.
You want to leave one for Amy?
Is she coming in?
Yeah, she'll be here late.
We've got several things to cover in the notebook, but it's just like any classroom. We're going to start with the finalists, and we'll start in the back of the book, and then we'll go back and review some things. We had a total of 19 applicants for the superintendency here. Madam Chairman, I have all the applications with me tonight, and I will give those to you before I leave, so you'll have those. If you will turn to your notebooks and go to tab 1. Our first finalist tonight is Dr. Adrienne Battle. She is currently your interim director of schools. She has served 2 years as community superintendent for Metro Schools, pre-K through 12. She has served 1 year as executive lead principal on priority schools here in Metro. She has served 4 years as executive principal, network lead principal for Metro at Antioch High School. She served 1 year as academic principal for grades 9 through 12 at Glencliff High School. She served 1 year as assistant high school principal in Metro at Glencliff High School. 3 years as head of school for East Academy, which is K-8. 3 years as team leader and athletic director for Metro. 4 years as a middle school teacher in Metro. And she has served as adjunct professor for TSU and the University of Phoenix. Dr. Battle's resume, cover letter, and references are behind tab 1. In these files that I'm going to hand over to your chairman, there will be transcripts. I didn't want to put those in the notebooks. Transcripts and other items will be in the folder that I'll hand to you. So Dr. Battle is finalist number 1. These are in alphabetical order, by the way. The second finalist is Ms. Brenda Elliott. She is currently Chief of School Improvement and Chief of Equity for the DC Public Schools. She has been in this position since 2017. This district has 50,000 students. She has served as Assistant Superintendent in Wake County Schools in Raleigh, North Carolina for 3 years. This district has 158,000 students. She has served as Executive Director of Student Services and Character Development for Guilford County Schools in Greensboro, North Carolina for 5 years. This district has 71,000 students. She served 1 year as High Priority Schools Advocate for Metro Schools, served 1 year as Area Director for Metro Schools, 4 years as Principal of Stratford High School here in Metro, 1 year as Principal at Lytton Middle School in Metro, 2 years as Assistant Principal at Antioch High School, and 5 years as a science teacher at Pearl Cone here in Metro. Ms. Brenda Elliott. Her items are behind tab 2. Finalist number 3 Mr. Brian Kingsley. He is currently Chief Academic Officer for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District in Charlotte, North Carolina. He has been in this position since 2018. This district has 149,000 students. He has served 3 years as Assistant Superintendent of Academics for Wake County Schools in Cary, North Carolina. This district has 159,000 students. He has served as Acting Chief Academic Officer and Executive Director of Instruction and Intervention for Broward County Schools in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for 1 year. This district has 265,000 students. He has 4 years experience as a middle school principal in Florida, 3 years as an interim middle school principal in Broward County, Florida, 2 years as middle school principal in Broward, and 6 years as middle school teacher in Broward County, Florida. Mr. Brian Kingsley, his items are behind tab 3. Finalist number 4, Dr. Shelley Redinger. She is currently the superintendent for Spokane Public Schools in Washington. She has been in this position since 2012. The district has 30,000 students. She's also served as superintendent in Virginia for 1 year, 4 years as superintendent in Oregon. She has served as executive director of teaching and learning for the Richland School District in Washington for 6 years. She has served as elementary principal in Washington and South Carolina for a total of 4 years. Served as assistant principal in South Carolina for 2, served as a teacher for 5 years, and she also serves as adjunct professor at Washington State University for 7 years. Dr. Shelley Redinger is your 4th finalist. Finalist number 5, behind tab 5, is Dr. Rod Richmond. He is currently serves as the executive director of student support services for Shelby County Schools. He has been in this position since 2014. This district has 105,000 students. He has served 1 year as Chief Academic Officer for Shelby County. He has served as Deputy Superintendent of Memphis City Schools for 1 year, served as Chief of School Operations for Memphis City for 4 years, served as Striving Schools Academic Superintendent for Memphis City for 3 years, has served as middle school principal in Memphis for 3 years, has served as elementary principal and assistant principal in Memphis for 5 years. He has served as a teacher in Memphis for 5 years, and he currently serves as an adjunct professor at Christian Brothers University. And he is also a graduate of our TSBA Prospective Superintendent's Academy. Dr. Rod Richmond, behind tab 5. Madam Chairman, that is my report of the finalists. Need a motion to accept.
Okay, at this time, I will accept a motion and a second to accept the candidates as presented to us by Dr. Grissom.
So moved.
Ms. Walker,
Second.
you second it? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? By a show of hands, could I get a vote on the slate as presented to us? It's a unanimous vote, Ms. White. Okay, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Dr. Grissom.
I guess the first thing I want to make sure with the board, because I will contact these tomorrow, are we still good for March 2nd through 6th for the interviews?
We are.
Okay. I will contact these finalists and schedule those interviews. But if we could go to page 28 in your notebook. I had worked with Anna prior to the meeting on a sample schedule. This board wanted to make sure, and I commend this board for that, to make sure we get community and staff input, and they have input into the process. So if you'll look on page 28, this is a sample schedule
In this
in the
document?
notebook.
Oh, in the notebook, okay.
Before the first tab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think the change there, I think we've decided now that we're not doing the community luncheon, correct, Madam Chairman?
That is correct, right.
This schedule on page 28 gives an opportunity for each candidate to spend an entire day here in your school district. They'll have someone, I think they've already worked out among the staff, who's going to meet each candidate the morning, take them on a tour of the schools. And this is not taking them inside of the schools. It's just driving by, and we just don't have time to do all that during the day. And then they'll meet in the morning with the principals in central office here at the central office. This will give each finalist an opportunity to give about a 10-minute, here's who I am, and then allow staff to ask questions of each candidate. I think they decided that they're just going to take someone here will take the candidate to luncheon and not have the luncheon with the community leaders. Then in the afternoon at 5 o'clock, there'll be a meeting with faculty and staff. Same thing, that the candidate will give about a 10-minute, here's who I am, and then allow those folks to ask questions of them. And then the interview by the school board will be conducted, obviously, in a public meeting at 6 o'clock. And then after that, you all will have dinner here and have time to have some casual conversation with each candidate. So any questions, or Chairman Shepherd, any changes other than the luncheon?
That's the only change that I'm aware of, yes.
Just wondering, why did you all decide to do away with the luncheon with community leaders?
Logistically, it just got really kind of cumbersome to arrange 5 different luncheons with 5 different community members, not knowing who would show, who would not show, how many people to account for. So, we will take them and make sure that they have, a good lunch, maybe kind of de-stress for a minute before they come, speak to the faculty and staff and come to their interview.
Could we maybe reconsider that, though? I just think it might be good to talk through it and to consider having community members actually talk to them or be part of the process in some real way.
They can come to the faculty and staff meeting if they want to. I mean,
Okay.
they're more than welcome to do that.
So we can invite community leaders to that 5 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, on page 29, you don't have to do this, but I think it's a good form to have available at these meetings, a candidate reaction form, so your staff and community leaders can write down, I like candidate 2, their comments. So I think that's a good form, and have them turn into you all. That'll give you some feedback of how people feel about each candidate. Starting on page 20, and I'm not going to read all these, but you might want to read these. These are some interviewing tips that you might want to review before you begin the interview process in March. Starting on page 25 are the Equal Opportunity Employment Guidelines. Please read those. Those are questions you cannot ask during an interview. So I would suggest that you review those prior to the interviews in March. If you will turn to page 4, we've talked about these procedures, and I think we've already voted on these, but just to review, on page 4 in the book, all of the interviews will be conducted in an open meeting. We're going to use the same interview questions. I sent those to you several weeks ago. If you will look in the the front side pocket of your notebook, the sample interview questions that you've received already. Have you all decided that you're going to use these, or have you added, or?
We've decided that we're going to use them. We're going to use them and just, rotate who asks what.
Yeah. I just think, just be sure you stick to the same questions, ask the same questions all 5 nights, and just know up front what the questions are going to be and who's going to take number 1, who's going to take 2, and make that decision prior to getting started. And back to page 4, just want to review our procedures. After you conduct all of the interviews, you'll have another meeting for you all to discuss and how you're going to narrow the candidates to, we suggest, as we've talked about before, in a board meeting that you all will each write down your top 2, sign your name and turn it in, and then read them aloud. And that will give you the candidate that you will focus on first, the one with the most votes. It may be a reason I say write down 2. Sometimes you start negotiating with the first candidate, it may not work out, so you'll need to go to the next candidate. So we've found that process works very well if you do that. Any questions, comments?
Rita?
So for, back to the candidate sample, the sample schedule for the candidate visit. The faculty and staff, so to clarify, that's teachers and support staff? Is that the 5 o'clock meeting?
I think that's everyone, yes.
And then for the central office principals, who are choosing the principals to have that coffee with? The principals and central office staff? Who determines what staff
Dr. Smith?
attends?
Please do.
We envisioned it would be an open invitation.
Okay.
Any central office personnel or any principal who wanted to make the effort to come over to be in the stream during that time would be fine. Same thing for the afternoon with faculty, staff, and any community members that wanted to be here for that time.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Elrod.
Are we intending to do page 29 of the candidate reaction? I know it's not, we didn't create it, but are we, I'm so sorry. I thought you said that you suggested that we do this candidate reaction form?
Yes.
But you said you suggested it. Does that mean that we are doing it or not doing it?
I'll have
to
Ms.
you all.
Bobo make one available for all of us so that
Okay.
we can go ahead and do that, yes.
Well, no, this
Not for
form is for
us.
the meetings, it's for the staff. You know,
When they're having the coffee or the luncheon?
Yes, you have copies available for folks to fill out to say, I like candidate number one. These
Okay.
are not for the board members to fill out. This is for.
Correct.
We'll make sure that they're
Yeah.
available.
Okay.
We'll be certain that they're available for all the meetings.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Either the principals or the community faculty staff.
Okay. And then that information will be combined
We
together?
will hold that, and we'll work with the chair to determine how that's best disseminated back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
Would it be better to maybe do 4 o'clock community meeting, open it up to community leaders, or does that just
Well,
feel too free for all?
we talked about that. The only problem with that is we have middle schools that don't get out till 4.
Well, I'm saying just community members.
Well, you know, in order to streamline the process and the schedule, we decided to, put everybody in one bucket, so to speak, and having that, begin for 5 would allow, because what we hear oftentimes from, especially from middle school principals and/or teachers, is that we don't get out of school till almost 4 o'clock. So, we can't make it from Hermitage to, in 30 minutes, probably an hour. But, that's why we decided on 5. And that's why we kind of, pushed everything a little bit later for that reason.
Is that what you're asking? Are you asking that in lieu of the luncheon, the community leaders is at 4, and then the faculty and staff stay at 5? That's what she's
Oh.
asking.
What page is that on?
We're on page 28.
So I was just thinking, if we have community organizations, nonprofits, or labor, whoever people want to come, it might be a different conversation than, they might not want to intervene in a staff faculty session. You see
Well,
what I'm
that's a
saying?
good point. Let's.
I mean, it would be open, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like having to count lunches and so forth, which can be
Right.
hard.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, let us get an opportunity to talk about that. So-
And are all these happening here
Yes.
and here? Or-
Yeah, and guys, you got to remember, this candidate is going to have a very busy day. So as much as we would like for them to be in different parts of there's just no way to.
That's not what I'm just trying to be clear, that this is the room that everything is happening in.
Dr. Gentry, it's our plan that all those would occur in here, just because it's a central location. I'd also suggest that we potentially split the difference on the 4 or the 5, and maybe do, a 4:30 to open it up a little more space there. Maybe have a 45-minute and a 45-minute opportunity. I'm just trying to think about traffic and travel and the ability of these candidates to not
I
be
would-
focused for the most
Well, they're
important
going
part
to
of the
have
day.
11:45 to 4 to focus on rest. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we need, if we're going to do it with community group, I think we need an hour. Just 30 minutes is going to be really tight. 30 minutes will maybe allow for best 3 or 4 questions. if the community person and the applicant is succinct. So I like at least an hour for community people, so we at least have some type of community input, so they feel they're part of the process, if we can fit it in. So that's well, we might request that we at least do an hour.
I would like us to consider some type of motion. I don't really know what it is yet, but a motion to maybe make that 4 o'clock be open to the community, and then 5 o'clock be open to faculty and staff, and then we begin the interview at the school board interview, just because I think this entire process just feels kind of disjointed from the community. And even though it'll be tight for the candidates, for sure, it'll kind of be a crash course in 167 schools, 86,000 students, and I just really want to give community members a chance.
May I suggest that we do 4 to 4:45 with a 15-minute break for the candidate, and then 5 to 5:45 with
think that's
another
reasonable.
15-minute break for the candidate to prepare themselves for the 6 o'clock.
I think that's reasonable, but I would welcome other discussion before we make a motion.
Is somebody going to facilitate these sessions? Is there going to be like a moderator
The
situation?
chair is going to be facilitating.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I think we should have instructions that for the community groups that to try to, like if it's an organization, like one person from organization speaks, not have several people from the same organization discuss, given that we are having a tight timeline for that, and suggest that a part of the community discussion.
So if there's a particular community organization that you would like to see invited to that, I would go ahead and extend that invitation and just make sure that you loop Dr. Severe into that. It can be an electronic invitation, just make sure he is aware, and also ask if, for a confirmation, so that we know the expectation of how many people are going to be here. Anybody else? Any comments, other suggestions?
Thank you.
Thank you for this. This is a whole lot, so thank you.
I'm going to leave the applications
Okay.
right here.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Grissom.
I'll get
Appreciate
back
it.
to you, Madam Chairman. I'll contact the finalists tomorrow, and then I'll let you know the
Okay,
schedule.
all right, appreciate it.
Thank you,
And I
Tanya.
have a question then, Madam Chair, since this, thank you, Ms. Grissom, but Madam Chair, since this starts next week and we won't be in front of the community for another, until it does, what do we need to say to the community, or what motion do we need to make to be sure that our timeline is tight and people know when and where to show up?
I'm not sure that we need a motion. It was kind of a fluid process anyway. That's why we brought it to the board tonight, just so we could, iron it out. And so we have some conference call scheduled so that we can go ahead and get it solidified and get it out as soon as possible. And so, like I said, if you have some particular community members or organizations or whomever you want invited, please, loop Dr. Severe and maybe myself in so we don't double dip, so to speak.
Go ahead.
Actually, my ask would be that, can we update this to show the 4 o'clock?
Yes.
Be clear in the description of who's invited to that.
We'll do
Get that to us, then we can send that out. Do we want people to sign up or indicate that they're coming, or?
I think if we could ask them for a confirmation as to whether or not they're going to be there, that would help us know what crowd to expect or not expect.
All right.
So if you want to reach out to someone, please do, and then just let us know, if they're planning on attending, and then we'll get this tidied up and hopefully up to y'all, if not late tomorrow, then the day after, so we can get it disseminated. And I know it's a really tight timeline for us. I mean, we've known about it for quite some time, but it's an important decision we have to make, so I
But those
appreciate.
people that come at 4
Yes,
and 5 can sit here till 7? right? So-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Everything's open.
Yes,
So,
right.
Yeah, everything is open. Any other discussions? Okay. I think we have our marching orders in front of us. Is someone going to let Dr. Battle know? Oh, she got, okay. Not to put her on the spot, but our director's report is next. Welcome back.
Are you ready for me?
Yeah, you're up.
All right, thank you, Chair Shepherd. Now we're going to hear a report on our people from our new Chief of Human Resources, Dr. Chris Barnes. We would like to welcome Chris Barnes to the MNPS family. This is his second week officially on the job, and he has hit the ground running. Chris is going to talk about the number of teacher vacancies in the district and the strategies he and the Human Resources team will be implementing to start lowering that number. But this isn't all on Chris and his team. We have to acknowledge that there are many other factors that will help us retain the best and brightest teachers, including competitive salaries, leadership at the school level, discipline issues, and school culture and climate. This is simply an update on staffing and how he plans to start working and putting some things in place. And we'll be communicating with you more on this issue in the months ahead. So Chris, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Battle, Board Chair, Board members. I have the privilege tonight to talk to you about what I consider our most valuable resource, which is our people. If you look at human resources in general, I see that as three different distinct jobs. The first is to obtain the best and brightest candidates that we can find, to use innovative and alternate resources to bring them to Metro Nashville, to train them with effective and efficient professional development to help make them better, and then to retain those people that we feel are good for students. So when we focus on tonight, I'm really going to focus mostly on the obtain part, which is how are we going to bring more teachers and more qualified applicants into our district. To start with, I'd like to share with you where our current state for our certificated vacancies. Certificated vacancies, I've broken them down for you by elementary, by quadrant, and by some hard to staff areas that we know are consistent issues, including math, science, and exceptional education. I do want to point out that even though we have a significant number of vacancies, we do still have a 97% filled rate, which are numbers in front of children in front of classrooms. When you take some of these positions out, and I tried to focus specifically on classroom vacancies that were not school-based vacancies or things that weren't directly tied to children, that number drops to about 132. Now, that still is 132 vacancies in our district that we need to address as we move forward into what's arguably our biggest hiring season right now for next year. When you look at our support vacancies, they're a little higher. There's 272. They're broken down by quadrant for you as well. And our three main areas that significantly have issues are our transportation, our paraprofessionals, and our nutrition services. We've got several current stopgap measures in place to support schools and students as we move forward. One of those is combining classes, either removing sections in middle or high school or merging classrooms in elementary with an eye towards the class size law from Tennessee. We have extended contracting where teachers may go from a high school to the middle school after school or start before school at the high school to try to pick up sections of courses where we need it. Use of alternative staff in classrooms, and of course our substitute teacher ranks as well. I'm pleased to note that last week we did our big career fair at Lipscomb University, and we were able to offer almost 35 early contracts for next year for applicants that we found there, and we're following up with the other folks that we saw there that we weren't able to interview on site on Saturday. And we had several different schools there, about 67 different schools attended, as well as some central office folks as well. Additional recruiting opportunities. My department has 22 additional career events scheduled for the next few months to go out to schools and go out to universities, to find applicants and bring them home. And we're also looking to target, we have 140 student teachers in our district right now, and we're looking to interview those over the next month and offer them early contracts as well for those who qualify. So we can stop them from looking anywhere else since they're doing their student teaching here with us. Over the past couple of weeks, I've met with my department several times, both in small groups and at large, to focus on three departmental priorities that you can expect from the HR department moving forward. Those are going to be an increase in communication, both laterally and vertically, including schools and principals. A more targeted look towards customer service, which means being available to answer and resolve problems and questions as they come up. and then streamlining our processes and procedures to make sure that what we're doing is effective and has the lowest amount of impact on the schools that we can have. For me, I wanted to briefly talk to you about our Hire Forward initiative. And Hire Forward is something I did in my last district, and its real purpose was to reduce the amount of time that students went without a certificated teacher in their classroom. And that comes by creating an applicant pool so that we have people waiting for jobs, not jobs waiting for people, as well as decreasing the time for applicants to get from the time they apply to the time they're working in our building. If we look at what board support we can use, obviously, if you have people that have concerns or questions, we'd like you to funnel them towards HR so we can help them resolve them, as well as communicate the great opportunities of working here in Metro Nashville, so we can get all those applicants into classrooms as soon as we can.
Question. Okay. So we still have questions around reciprocity or teachers who maybe have passed one version of the praxis but not another, or just, the praxis has changed or the requirements for which praxis test you have to take has changed. Who should we still be sending them to you, or should we be sending them straight to the state? How can we better support you all in advocating for those changes and updates?
So I have, I've struggled with the licensure department in North Carolina as well. There are some similar issues. I've set up a meeting already with both the director of Tennessee licensure as well as the director of human capital to have a meeting to talk about what we can do to streamline the process for our employees. And so I would encourage them to send them to us, because if nothing else, we can help them wend their way through the process the best that we can.
And who did you say those were again? Not that I'm checking up on you, but just for my information. You said
the director of licensure for Tennessee Department of Education, and then also the director of human capital. Because that's one of the things we're looking at. Is I was trying to track down where are the slowdowns, and there is a large gap between, and obviously everyone's understaffed, overworked. However, it sometimes is several months before a license can be cleared by the state, and we're looking to figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
Or support them however we can.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, you, thank you for putting this together. You made a comment, and I missed it, under the current stopgap measures slide, on that slide, when you talked about combining classes and class size. So realistically, how many opportunities, and you may not know off the top of your head, how many opportunities do we realistically have to do that, have available to us to implement this, and still not overwhelm a teacher with?
True, and it depends on the class size law, of course, is fairly broad. It has an average and an individual class size. So there are some schools that design themselves for smaller classes and can do some combination without busting over the class size gap. It also depends on the size of the school, because a lot of times if you have 6 or 7 third grade classrooms, you can filter those in easier than if you only have 2 or 3.
So I'm curious about a couple of things that, again, may not be easy to answer. Just where does this presentation with regards to gaps and other strategies marry with the budget request? I just struggle with silo presentations. I'm just trying to see how it all fits together. I mean, are your strategies and things that you're trying to implement reflected in what we're asking for? That's my first question. And the second one is, do we have some exemptions to some of these strategies? So when I think about our schools of innovation, I don't think of combining classrooms as an option ever.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't, right? So I'm just thinking, so for, again, more systems thinking, are we making sure we're being strategic about where things like this will not work, even though they get us because we're going to have a lot of overlap there, right? So our schools of innovation are going to be the schools that have lots of vacancies. Yep. And so, but I don't see that combining class sizes or some of these other things, right? Circumventing certification and things of that nature is a viable option if we're trying to get the outcomes that we want for those schools. So, I mean, again, I'm just
Well,
kind of like.
and I can respond to some of that. I think at this point, some of the concern needs to be our hiring season, our biggest hiring time shouldn't be July. It should be March and April, because that's when the candidate pool is deepest. So we're sort of, what are we putting in place right now to support the students through the end of this year while we try to permanently solve the problem for next year to make sure that we don't have to do any of these stopgap measures moving forward. The problem, a lot of the applicants we're seeing now are looking for jobs for next year because they are either finishing out a school year where they are or they're graduating or something like that. So we're sort of trying to attack this on two fronts at once.
And with regard to the budget investments, yes, that's where we came up with our theory of actions between, excuse me, by way of the strategies that were suggested, recommended under the compensation space. And this list is not, does not exhaust everything that we've been able to implement this year in some spaces, particularly in our priority schools. We have also looked to other supplementary positions that are available in schools in the central office and push them back into our classrooms so that we can directly serve our students. So we're continuing to assess where we are with that, not only in those coaching positions and other interventionist positions. We're looking at reclassifying and looking at job descriptions as we move forward, and some of the other supplementary positions as we move forward, by way of some of the non-negotiables we have in student-based budgeting. We've created some of the vacancy based upon some of the non-negotiables and additional positions that we have in our classrooms. And so we're looking at that, revisiting it to make sure that our priorities remain in the direct supports and services to students first as we build out our strategies moving forward to fill all of our vacancy needs.
And some other alternative areas we're looking at, as you can see, we found 6 teachers who had current licenses who had just moved to the area who were offered jobs on Saturday for the current vacancies. We also met with our substitute teaching team. They had 5 people come in for substitute training with teaching licenses. And so we ushered them straight over to be interviewed for teaching staff as well. So we're looking at sort of exhausting some of those areas as well.
I have a couple of questions. When you go back to slide 2, and you talked about that we still have a 97% fill rate, what do you mean by that?
That means if you looked at all the positions we have in our district and looked at the number of vacancies we still have 97% of the jobs that we would have in the district if we were 100% staffed. We have staffed 97% of them, if that makes sense. So if you took every job that we have in the district, however many people that we have, and then looked at the number of vacancies we have of 160, when you do that math, it comes out to be 97% of our positions have someone in them.
That's including substitutes, is that what you're saying? So this
It does
number.
include substitutes. I think I took the number of about 5,000 teaching staff and divided by 160 to get that. But I can look at that number a little more specifically. It's still a concern because even when you look at classroom vacancies, whether you look at 132 or 160, there's still a lot of kids who don't have a certified teacher every day.
Right. And also, with what Dr. Gentry was saying, are we combining classrooms now because of our shortage? Because I'm assuming this is going to be temporary.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're combining now. And are we combining in our priority schools right now?
I did not divide it out by schools of what solution is where. I can get a better handle on that. That was some of the things I'm trying to still sort of gather information on.
And then also, you had talked about the process as far as decreasing the time for the hiring process.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
is the time frame right now? Because I know we've had concerns in the past about the amount of time it takes to hire a teacher. And of
Correct.
course, we talk about retention, retaining, but they tend to go elsewhere if we take too long. So,
Take too long.
yeah, what's that timeline?
So right
like?
now, I've heard, it really, that depends on who you ask. I've heard anything from 2 months to a month to 2 weeks. It's a really wide range. So what I've done is I've gotten a list of every single step that it takes to hire someone and then map that across, and then I'm trying to find out exactly how long the average stay is in each of those steps moving forward so I can understand. Now, some of our computer systems are still working to marry together cohesively, so some of that holdup is data entry stuff, but then there's sending it out for background checks and things like that. So I'm trying to work through exactly what steps taking so long.
Yeah, so do you think, because I've heard, because, they've speed up the process as far as the TBI, the background check, so I'm just trying to figure out what's kind of stuck, the reason why it's taking so long to hire the teachers. Like you said, you're trying to figure it out. But what is it just, do you have enough people in your office to do the work as far as data entry, moving the needle forward? I mean, it's...
And having only been here a small amount of time, I don't want to say, we need to throw more people at the problem. I think that if you ask our staff, they're all working just as hard as they possibly can. It's got to be a blend between staffing and efficiency, and I'm looking for ways to speed that process along before I can definitively say to you folks, hey, I need 2 more, I need 6 more. I want to just make sure that we've got the process in play that moves it along as fast as we can before I can determine if we need more people to do that.
Okay, I just encourage that now that we got more applicants, that we're moving, I'm sure you're moving the needle a little bit faster now.
Yes, ma'am. That's the plan.
Yeah, and if you can check on that for me, I want to know if we're combining classrooms that are priority schools, because are we missing, how many teachers are we missing in those schools? Do we have a body in front of those students every day? So that is a major concern.
That's also checking the absence, the substitute fill rate as well. I've been looking to track that down also. So there's a lot of sort of balls in play, but I think the real thing is making sure that we're connecting individually with applicants rather than, even if the process is taking longer, that still doesn't stop us from reaching out to you directly and helping you move yourself through the process as well.
Thank you for that.
And as a reminder, so with the class sizes combining, there is a state law that we have to follow, and the number of classes given the average size class across the school in each individual class. So
What
that's
is that
something.
number? What's that number?
It varies based upon the grade level. So at high school, it's 35. In middle school, it's lower. It's lower based upon the age of the student. On average.
Okay, thank you.
So, first of all, congrats on doing a presentation on your 7th day in Metro Schools. Congrats. So I want to give a shout out to Mark North for shepherding a bill through the legislature right now that will reduce the amount of time an employee has to sit on an offer from 15 days to 5.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not waiting and seeing what their options are. They have to make a call so that we can then, if they're not going to take it, can then go to the next candidate. So I want to thank him for that. Have we done this before where we go and ask every one of our student teachers if they want a job? Has that been something we've been doing in the past?
I'm sure that we've worked through that process before. I just want to make sure what I've learned is that, you want to swim in the pool.
Right. I think it's a great
deep.
idea.
So.
I just didn't realize we were doing that.
And some of that is, it's difficult for a principal to say, hey, I know I'm going to have a position next year as we work through the budget process. So my idea would be to build a pool of applicants that are saying, I'm committed to Metro Nashville, I don't really care where I'm going to go. And then we can support those folks to find individual positions so that it's more about getting those folks into our district, and then we can help farm them out as schools get a better sense of their needs.
Okay. Thanks.
Anybody else?
First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
So I've got some questions that predated you, so you may not know the answer to these questions, and then I have some
Sure.
ongoing issues that you probably will know the answer to. So first of all, we had an HR report that identified quite a few issues, and I think bringing you on board was part of the solution to some of those issues. But I am wondering, is that something you're looking at? Do we feel we've addressed the issues in the HR report? Where are we on that process?
So we do have a response plan based upon what was provided to us from the audit that we continue to work through. I think the board might have to have a decision point if we want to release that full report back to Dr. Barnes. I know you all had to vote for me to have access to it, so that might be something we want to do if we want him to go backwards and look at what's there. We have the response that's available, but he does not have currently access to the audit that was released. But we do have a plan that was signed off on by the auditors that address every recommendation that came to us based upon the audit.
Okay. So I'll just say, I just think the fact that was kept private and secret was political gamesmanship, and I think it should have been obviously public that was paid for by tax dollars. So I'll be happy to make a motion. I don't know if I just need to bring notice now. I'll make a motion and release that because I do think that needs to be information that you have access to do your job. So, so I guess I'll give notice at the next meeting that we can vote on that. I would like to bring that motion. Unless I can do it now, but I do think I have to have notice, right? Okay. Okay. So.
To speak to
Yeah.
that, when I've spent the first, and I provided Dr. Battle with sort of a transition plan for me coming here. Most of the time was spent deliberately listening, and that doesn't just mean to the HR staff, but to principals and to other folks in the district. I came, before I actually started, I came for 3 days to get to meet my staff and things like that. And I spent one of those days out in schools talking with principals because they're part of that process. And I think that most of the listening and learning, I think, is going to probably address most of the things that are in that plan, because it's really about, the HR position and the HR department is really facing a support. That's what our job is to do, is to support teachers, support schools. And so anything we can do, I told my staff on the first day that nothing's ever going to be good for schools and convenient for us at the same time, and we're going to do what's good for schools. And they've responded to that kind of mindset. So I think that's probably hits a lot of the issues, I would assume, already.
Okay, great. And just as a little secret, it was out in the paper. If you want to look in the paper, it was all published. But anyway, I'll make an official motion, and then you'll have full access to it. And then the other question I had, that's another past issue, is we cut a reading program here, and we lost a large number of our highly qualified reading specialists. And I see that they're not listed on the hard-to-staff areas, but I'm wondering if we feel that we have replaced those teachers at this point, or are we still struggling to have good leadership in our reading programs?
I would think that these numbers represent all of our core teachers, which would include the reading specialists or interventionists that were providing those services. So they're not broken out here because of the certification that they do hold, not the specific training that was required for that program.
Okay.
And there were some vacancies I saw that were either RTI interventionist, reading literacy specialist. I saw a couple of those in there.
Okay, but not a huge number. We feel like we've mostly replaced, or you
I
don't know
didn't see
yet.
that as a huge number, and I don't know
Okay.
whether or not schools repurposed positions when that was, because that's a hard position to hire for.
Okay, so then now the current issues that you probably will know about.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to bring up two topics that keep coming up in my discussions with people around the district. Exit interviews, and I know we can't force people to take exit interviews, but I think that we seem to be lacking in that area for whatever reason, and I think that would be helpful information to have if we are losing
Right.
teachers, why. And then also, there seems to be a lot of fear around some of the surveys that we give to teachers.
Fear of reprisal?
They're worried that their emails are linked or someone's going to find out who said what. And so I don't know that we're always getting great feedback. And so we had the HR report, a lot of things came out that I don't know that were not necessarily showing up on the teacher surveys. And then also, a lot of people have asked about having some sort of full evaluation of principals, like having the teachers having full input on that within the building, and I don't know that we're doing that. So I was just hoping we can set, if we don't have them already, some processes in place to capture information that's, that is where we get a full picture of what's actually going on in a school.
And I know that there's a commission right now, a committee that's actually working with me, I found out this week, to do a better job of the exit survey and figure out how we're going to spread that wider than it is. One solution, obviously, is to post it online without a requirement to, even if you've already left, you can still access that survey and support that and give that to us. I think that's going to have to be, some of that's going to be personal contact as well, asking people to fill it out. Actually, one woman who spoke last night at the community meeting said, I'm retiring at the end of the year, and I said, I want to get your survey. So she gave me her number. It's a literacy specialist, actually. But I think we're going to have to do a diligent job. Some of this has to be face-to-face contact or direct phone conference rather than email or text. I think that we're going to have to, if we want those numbers, we're going to have to go get them.
But do we have surveys that address principals where we have feedback from?
There are
within the
panoramic
building?
surveys that address leadership and culture in the building.
Okay.
And those are done by students and staff both.
Okay. Well, I don't know. this issue just keeps coming up with me, and I don't know if there's, for some reason, it seems that teachers feel that it's not really a full 360 evaluation of the principal, and I don't know why, so that may be something that you would look into.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And more generally, in the past, there's been an issue about basically displacement pools, especially for support staff. So if a position was eliminated not by fault of their own, but still had met the performance requirements and were still performing and did not have a performance issue, that they'll be able to do that. So hopefully you can look into that as you start kind of your tenure here, of making sure that we have that for support staff, so that they want to stay in a district, but they don't go through, kind of start from as a brand-new applicant because their position was eliminated just through needs of the school had changed and shifted, that we kind of have that displacement list, also creating a deeper pool for support staff.
And I don't think I'm supposed to make clear, declarations here tonight, but that's actually one of the things also for teachers who, through no fault of their own, their school decreased in enrollment. Nobody needs to leave this district. We can find homes for good quality people who are displaced through no fault of their own. And I'll say that definitively. And so that's part of creating that pool of folks so that we can farm people out when they need to be, if they're displaced through no fault of their own, for support and certificated staff.
Everybody else? Ms. Albright.
Regarding the HR report, so I just want to make sure that we're all aware that the reason it's not provided is because we as a board decided not to provide it, and that's because the people that participated in that were provided their privacy because they were a part of it, and so it's a board decision more than a political decision to let that be available to everyone. But I do believe that you need to have access to it, and I support that we have that motion, but within that, we also need to probably provide that to Frida, as she is now a part of our team, if you will, and so Frida needs to be able to have access to it. I understand that it is publicly available, as someone within the board provided that to the news. However, I think that it's important that we follow the correct procedures, and so I do hope that we provide that to you so that you can act upon it, as you will be held to that expectation, and that, Frida, you can have access to it finally as well in the appropriate manner. On that note, inside of that report is information, as we have just said, about all kinds of things, and so I encourage you to review it and ask questions with us once you get access to it. I appreciate all this information, particularly on your 7th day, and I have a few little questions about some specifics within it. So the 22 additional career events that are scheduled, are those scheduled for this time, as we have heard many times, and as you have also echoed, now is the best hiring time?
Yes.
So are they scheduled for now or in the summer, or when are those?
We have already been doing several. I just did the ones moving forward, not back, but
Right.
we've been going almost every week somewhere.
Okay. And in the past, we had, this was months ago, so I apologize, and I don't have that presentation in front of me. We had like a potential schedule of places that we were going to go to do those career events. Are we still planning on going to different types of schools like HBCUs, so we have a more diverse population as well within our certified teacher groups?
I have not swum that deep yet. We did have, in my last district, we had actually an HBCU focus, and so we targeted universities there, and I'll look to see if they are not, that we will, because we need to increase our diversity as we increase our quality, as we increase our numbers, so those things all work together.
Okay, so I guess my question is, I just want to make sure that there's a focus on not just hiring, we want to hire great teachers, but we need to have a diverse teacher population.
Correct.
And so I want to make sure that we're intentional about where we are trying to recruit in these career events. So I appreciate that attention to it. And do we currently have teachers doing the moonlighting?
Yes.
I know we've talked about it, but I don't know if anyone's actually accessing it.
Yes, we do have several teachers that are either, we buy out their planning period to teach in their building, or they're teaching, because the start times are different, they can do one period and then go to their school.
Okay. And I guess,
Compensated for that.
and like to Amy's point about the exit interviews, because we do hear a lot about the need for exit interviews, do we ever interview teachers or you may not know this because once again, it's your seventh day. So provide you some grace. But do we ever reach out to these types of teachers that are doing this moonlighting and this flexible scheduling to find out what's a better way of doing it? Maybe there's a school that's a better place for them, or there's a better way of scheduling that. Do we ever have or provide feedback or allow them to provide feedback about that?
I don't know that answer. I do know that when I would do it as a principal, it was within my same building just because the timing worked better. It's going to have to be based on geography, really.
Proximity.
The moonlighting across schools is something we just started last semester with a clear kind of parameters and contracting around it. But we left that up to the employee and the principals to make that determination.
Got it.
So we didn't necessarily place, we allowed them to say, this is where I feel comfortable, this is where my talent can be best served, and they agreed upon the arrangements to make the moonlighting happen.
So as it's new, we're figuring it out.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Brooks?
I just wanted to ask, on retention, as far as surveys, exit surveys, the panorama, I'm trying to figure out what else we can do as before a teacher decides to leave our district. Are we having the conversation, the principals are having the conversation with our teachers if they're returning the next school year, so we can kind of
Plan ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have letter of intent forms that a lot of principals will use with their staff to get a sense of what they're wanting to do. And our transfer period opens this week. At the end of this week, our transfer window opens for people who are interested in other opportunities. My main goal is for someone, if they can't find a location that feels good about that, we need to streamline that process. Someone who already works for us doesn't need to go through the entire application process again. They should be able to contact our office, and we work with them to find locations to go.
So let me ask you another question. So if we have teachers that want to exit, let's just say because they hate CKLA, and
Sorry,
we're
what's that?
making, you may not even know the term, I hate the term, but it's a program that we're using for most of our priority schools as far as, what is
LA.
it, reading? Yeah.
LA,
Is it literally?
okay, fine.
Okay. So we hear that quite a bit. Teacher wants to leave this district just because they are tired of the way they have to teach. And they can't teach like they were trained to do, and they were taught to do, and they are educated to do. So now that things are going to change next semester, right? It's changing next year, right? So if we know that, but they don't know that, and they should know it, I'm sure, how are we trying to encourage them to stay in our district, stay with us because things are changing? Are we doing the communication that we need to put out there in the atmosphere that these things are changing? Some of their concerns, because we are getting teachers that are telling us what is bothering them and reason why they're leaving us.
Well, and you're right about the exit survey. I mean, we need to get more actionable data to do something with. But by the same token, the way I've done my job before, it really focuses on consistency, efficiency, and transparency. So part of my job is to go to schools and talk to teachers and find out what's going on. I've had the opportunity, I think I've been to 10 in a week, so that's not too bad. But, obviously, we need to have enough people in my department so that we can efficiently respond to people's concerns and worries. But also, they need to feel like, where can I go where I make sure I have a voice? I'm concerned about talking to my principal. I don't feel comfortable talking to someone. HR needs to be a place where anybody who has concerns can go and get at least direction and support towards resolving their problem. And we just need to put that out there and make that sort of the action cry for all teachers to say, we can resolve your problems with you.
Right, perfect, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This idea to explore. I know, and I don't know if we can do this, but in metro government, retirees can come back and work a part-time hour.
We do that as well.
Oh, okay, because that's Moonlight.
And
Okay.
North Carolina actually has a
What we call-
6-month holdover, and Tennessee does not. You can retire today and come back tomorrow, which is great.
Okay,
It's what we call our 120-day employees,
okay,
They are limited.
which are different from moonlighting, just
Okay.
clear.
Their tenure limits how much they can work, but we do
Yes.
encourage them to come back.
okay, great, thank you.
I just want to address my comment about the gamesmanship on the HR report, because I think there were very few of us sitting here at the table that actually were here when that vote was taken. So there was a former board member who is no longer here and cannot speak for himself tonight, but he is the one that tried to keep it secret. I believe that it was fully intentional in order that we hired a law firm in order that we could claim that it was then attorney-client privilege. We were, I've been on the board 8 years. We have never had a report of this nature kept secret, and I think it was a way to attempt to create the appearance that we were making changes, and then if the report came back as a negative report, which it did, it was a way to then say, oh, well, we can't release it because it's private. So all that is like water under the bridge. I'm glad to hear that we're ready to move forward on it. I think it's very important that we are fully transparent going forward and we don't keep that kind of stuff secret. And also just want to say, to my knowledge, no one on this board, current or previous board member, released that report. I did not. I have suspicions on how it was released, but I believe it should have been transparent from the beginning. So I am happy that it's out, but I will bring that motion at our next meeting.
Thank you. And I, of course, have heard about it. I did my research before I came, but the best I can do is treat people ethically and with dignity and consistency. And whatever we do, I think that's going to solve most of those issues, I would assume.
Anybody else? So thank you, Dr. Barnes,
Ma'am,
for
thank you for
having
the
a
opportunity. Thank you,
PowerPoint.
Board.
I do have like one, I think several people mentioned it before I could, and that is to decrease the time between applicants and hire. I mean, that's been a source of contention. So I would think that maybe we would use Mr. North's bill and to shorten the discernment time down to 5 days. Maybe we could shorten our hire process down to 5 days, and then the two would match. But I mean, I know that's, wishful thinking, but that would be a goal for me, because I've heard too many teachers, well, a lot of principals have said, we thought we had him or her. And so we sent them down to fill out the paperwork, and lo and behold, 30 days later, they've accepted another job. So then, they're back to square one. Well, they're behind the 8 ball because time has lapsed. And so they don't have that opportunity to hire another quality instructor. So that would be my, big takeaway, from this.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Shameless plug, we do have our first MNPS Day on the Hill tomorrow. If anyone would like to join us, we'll be meeting here at 8 a.m., but please understand you don't have to be here at 8 to still join us. We'll be there until about 12 o'clock at least. There's a 9 a.m. House Subcommittee meeting that you can join us possibly in. There's a 10:15 Davidson County Delegation meeting that you can join us in, and then there is a 11:30 meeting, Senate Education Subcommittee meeting, 11:30-ish. Either way, this will be a great time for us to push or to support Mr. North and to support those delegates who want to vote in favor. Thank you so much.
That's my cue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes. Appreciate it. We will move on to committee reports at this time. Ms. Poopa Walker.
Report.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a really great Budget and Finance Committee meeting today, and Dr. Battle and Mr. Henson and others steered us through sort of re-examining again and deeper dive on each of our priorities and priorities within our priorities, and so we have a lot of thinking to do. So we were able to ask some really good questions, get clarification on different things that were proposed, and so I think next steps now are to really begin to identify those must-haves versus the nice-to-haves, and continue to work with Mayor Cooper's office to sort of arrive at a number that we can all work from.
Thank you. I do have a short board chair report tonight. Tonight, we received the names of our finalists for our permanent director of schools. Next week, we will be hosting each one of these candidates in our district and conducting our interviews with each one of them every evening. And Dr. Grissom and our staff prepared this wonderful notebook that she handed us for the use in our process. Please note these interviews are open to the public, as are all the meetings. Anyone can attend. However, The public will not be allowed to address us or the candidates during the interview process. I would encourage anyone attending in the audience or watching from home to jot down any questions or concerns that he or she might have, and then contact your school board member with these questions or concerns. There will be an opportunity, more than one, to meet the candidates. We heard tonight discussion on the schedule. There's, I think it's 4:30, something like that. We'll get a schedule out tomorrow, but, there's one for community members, there's one for principals and staff. That includes all staff. So make sure that, if you have anyone that has a keen interest in this process, please refer them to come to these meetings. And then, of course, they can stay for the interviews every day. I'd like to just take this opportunity to, stress the importance of the decision that we have ahead of us. It's vitally important that each one of us use our voices to select the person that you think would best lead us over the next several years. You're welcome to, we as a board are welcome to attend any activity during the day, but the must-be-at thing is the interviews that we conduct every night. So we will review the sample questions, we'll get a schedule out to everybody, and then we will go from there. Thank you. And now we'll move on to announcements. Dr. Gentry.
First, I want to say happy Mardi Gras. Oh, she's so shameful. It's today, we're supposed to be at least drunk on the no, I'm just kidding. Just to remind you that Read Me Week is coming up, so hopefully you are volunteered to read someplace and everybody signed up to go and spend some time with a whole bunch of highly energetic kids next week. Today, I had the opportunity to attend HBCU Day on the Hill, Tennessee HBCU Day on the Hill, and just much thanks to Representative Love, who led the bill to get the first and only in this country HBCU Advisory Board here in the state of Tennessee. We are the only one that has one. So we had 7 HBCUs in the state: ABC, American Baptist College, Fisk University, Knoxville College, Lane College, Lemoyne-Owen, Meharry, and the Tennessee State University. All 7 presidents were present and participated in a panel that was very informative, very engaging. And I learned a new phrase, educational malpractice. I think the work that we do is really designed to help us not be guilty of committing educational malpractice, and that's when we don't do what's best and what's right on behalf of our students. And so again, it was a very good, I serve on that advisory board, and it was a very, very good panel, and I'm looking forward to MNPS Day on the Hill as well. And to the HBCU recruiting thing, I would just throw this out here, just out into the wind, anybody who wants to hear it, that North Carolina A&T University has a teacher program that focuses on black males, educating, preparing black males to teach in the K through 12 environment. North Carolina A&T, which also is the home of the Dr. Andrea Gentry, I might know her a little bit, who is a large animal vet, and she actually runs their large animal vet program, such as second shameless plug of the night. That's all I got.
Okay, Ms. Severn.
Thank you. So to piggyback on the Read Me Week, it is next week, and if you would like to go somewhere and read, I have plenty of schools that would love to have you, and I will join you there. So please let me know if you have an overwhelming want to see some precious faces that want to be read to, because I know them. And then next, I would like to thank everyone that came out to Haywood's community meeting last week, even though it was on a snow day. There was a lot of confusion on is it going to still happen or not, and so I would like to just publicly acknowledge everyone that came to that, because it was still very helpful and needed. Additionally, Overton is in need of parents to join their advisory boards. Each academy has an advisory board that includes parents along with educators and other stakeholders within that academy, and they are in need of parents to join those advisory boards for each academy at Overton. And so if you have any interest, please let us know. And I would like to put out a thanks to Dr. Eads with the School of Science and Math at Vandy. We all met her a couple weeks ago with Mert. We all talked about how well-spoken Mert was. And so Dr. Eads runs this incredible program over at Vanderbilt, and I had the honor to get to meet the students that are over there and learn about their different, very interesting if you want to drink a bunch of caffeine and then run in circles, you should go over there, because there's some children doing that experiment. And did you go?
Yeah,
and
I went to it before, yeah.
It's very interesting. And so it was so wonderful to see. I think our students' voices are sometimes lacking within our school board meetings, as we just simply don't get to see them. They're busy doing things that students need to do. And so I think it was a great way of getting to see them in action and get to put some good faces behind the work that we do and that everybody does. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blocker.
So I want to remind folks that we have a community meeting tomorrow night at Hillwood at 6 and Thursday at Cresswell at 6 to talk about the budget and to hear the presentation in more depth. Encourage folks to invite parents, community members out to those. I went to a Hillsborough Cluster PAC meeting last night in great attendance and talked about the budget, so excited about that. I want to thank the YWCA and Amend for holding a dating violence forum with Hillsborough students. Sounds like it was a powerful event. I want to congratulate Aaliyah Ottman, who is 6th in the state in girls wrestling, which is awesome. Didn't know until tonight from Mr. North that there's girls wrestling. Okay, that's awesome. And I want to thank Dr. Battle for meeting with the student body presidents from all the high schools and having a student cabinet. And I think that is super inspiring, and I love that you did that. Okay, that's it.
Ms. Brooks.
Thank you. This past Thursday, there was a North Nashville Friends of Education mixer meeting, and it was just North Nashville parents who had questions about the budget, who really wanted to understand what was happening around MNPS. So I just appreciate when community members have an issue and then try to find a solution. And so thank you to Courtney Hale of the Knowledge Bank and all the parents that came out that evening to engage us. Ms. Destiny Barnes, who's also a Community Achieve Site Director, was a presenter along with myself. So thank you for that. Other communities, feel free to do the same. You can reach out to any school board member if you have questions. The NOAA Young Adult Caucus held a conversation of sorts this past Sunday, and I was elated to join my esteemed colleague, MNEA President, Ms. Amanda Kale, and Council Lady Sepulveda, and just talk through what it looks like to really, why we have not had real equity in this district, because we as a city have not discussed equity in a real way. And it was a very blunt conversation. We talked about race and speaking up and advocating. And again, thank you to those young adults for engaging us. Again, the MNPS Day on the Hill is tomorrow. If you have not RSVP'd, it is not too late. Please do so, only because we want to be able to feed you. But you are more than welcome to join us at any point. Hopefully next year, when the legislative season is a bit longer, we can have this during spring break. It is our goal to really make sure parents, teachers, and anyone else can be part of the process. The Magnet School Showcase will be this Friday, February 28th. Of course, I have all the academic magnets and appreciate all the work that they do, so please come out and join us. Lead Senior Signing Day will be held at Belmont on March 9th, and I really appreciate this because we have signing day for our athletes. We typically don't really engage in signing day for our scholars, academic scholarships, so if you want to be a part of that, it'll be at Belmont March 9th. Rose Bank will have their STEAM night at 5 p.m. after our next meeting or during our next meeting on March 10th. I won't be able to join them until after our meeting, so hopefully it's brief. That's just putting that out in the atmosphere. Thank you to the community members who have participated in that 37208 community or committee that the Vice Mayor Schulman started. We're going to engage in a student listening session at Pearl Cone. I'm really excited to tell you all about what comes out of that, but just being able to hear from community members, but then also hear from students that say, this is what we need, this is what we've been lacking, will be so powerful. And I love, I'm a supporter of pre-K because I can't wait to put my darling, He's a darling. I'm gonna keep calling him that. He's a darling. Our pre-K application season is open, and a special shout out to Marichelle Bonifacio because she's doing this pre-K tour where she is going out to different communities, communities of color, communities of affluence, poorer communities, and really talking through the pre-K process, the application process, making sure that parents have access to quality standards lists so that you know what you're looking for. I mean, who knew? Some of these daycares out here, baby, are not what you would hope they are. So having that list has been super helpful. Thank you for that. And then lastly, yesterday, Explore had their showcase. If you're not familiar with Explore, they engage in a project-based learning model, and this is an elementary school. I'm one of those broke school board members that has to work a 9 to 5, so I couldn't make it, but it's always really beautiful. I'll make sure to tell you all about it ahead of time next year. Thank you so much.
So first of all, I'll be bringing a resolution at the next meeting for community schools, to support community schools, and I want to bring notice of that. And also on Monday, I will be reading to children at Robert Churchwell, which is one of my favorite events of the year, because I think I secretly would prefer to be a pre-K teacher. So it's a lot of fun to read to the kids, and hope everybody gets involved with the reading week, because it's a great way to get involved with the schools. Thanks.
Question.
Again, Read Across America is coming up next week. I'm really excited because I have been invited to go to so many schools to read to these little babies. But of course, I can't do it all. So I am going to try my best to get to every school that I possibly can to read to those children. Also, one of my favorite schools, which was one of the first schools that I visited when I became a board member, was Paragon Mills. And they invited me over. I was so excited to be with those kids. I read to those children, got a chance to meet the teacher of the year, the teacher of the year at their school. And while I was there, I mean, they were just so amazing, just young elementary students that would just love. I mean, I got a kick out of the reading, and I just had fun, and I know they had fun. But I'm going back, and I'm going back this time because I want to give a shout out to David Prophet and Chris Henson. Because when I left that school, they told me the importance of how important it was to have an awning. That was just their simple ask, is to get an awning over that school, because those students that attend that school, they're mostly neighborhood kids. So about 80% of the students attend that school, maybe a little higher, and they're neighborhood kids that walk. But when they come outside and it's raining, whatever the case, the weather it's like, it's hard for them to be out there and not have any covering or protection. So that was one of their asks to me, and I could not wait to find Chris. And I was like, can we get this done for them? And you got it done. So I'm really excited to get back over to Paragon Mills to see this awning. I have not been over to see it, so I'm really excited. Thank you both for listening to that ask, because they don't ask for a lot over at that school. So thank you for that. Secondly, we're going to be doing I'm really excited to be a part of JFK, Spread the JFK Love. As we know, we've had few little hiccups over at JFK, but we're rebounding back over at JFK Middle School, and I'm really excited to be a part of the Teacher and Collaboration Night. I help facilitate that, coordinate that, so that we can bring back parental involvement in that school, and hopefully this will be a mark where we can spread this across all middle schools, because we do know the importance that middle school kids need that extra support. So I'm really excited about being a part of that this Thursday night, and thank you guys so much.
I just want to mention the inaugural Magnet School Showcase. 2 of my schools will be presenting there. So elementary schools students are presenting what they have learned. So that will be this Friday, February 28th. Doors open at 5:30, but it goes from 6 to 8 at MLK on 17th Avenue North. So I hope to see you there on Friday.
I do have a couple. Again, I announced this last time, the McGavitt Coalition will hold their annual breakfast on Friday, March the 6th at 7:30 at McGavitt High School. The cost to attend the breakfast is completely free. We will be asking for donations for our scholarship fund. We provide a $500 scholarship for all qualifying graduating seniors. They receive a lanyard to wear at graduation and a $500 scholarship. The McGavitt culinary students will be preparing the breakfast. breakfast, and then we'll be entertained by several different groups at McGavock High School. Most recently, their dance team traveled to New York City and performed in New York City, and so they'll be performing, as well as the choral group, the choir, the orchestra. So we'll be entertained for the entire morning, so please make plans to be there. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to those persons and organizations who have contributed towards the school lunch debt that I mentioned here last month. I know that for a fact that J.T. Moore has had both their past semesters and future semesters school lunch debt paid. And then I had two different organizations reach out to me to pay some more debt down. One organization, which is a nonprofit, is the schoollunchferry.org. They saw my tweet on Twitter, and so they're sending checks for 14 different schools, all totaling over $12,000. And then there's another organization called Outback Presents. They're local. They're concert promoters. They chose 3 middle schools that they want to completely pay off their debt, and they want to, in the hopes of developing a relationship with these 3 middle schools, and they're paying off almost $9,000 in school lunch debt. So I owe a debt of gratitude to these 2 organizations. I would encourage anyone who's interested to continue to help pay for our school lunches. Last time I saw it was, well, the original list had $62K. I don't know how much is left of that, but if you can help in that endeavor, it would be much appreciated. I know the principals would appreciate it for sure. So just these 2 organizations are paying off right at $21,000 in school lunch debt. So that's a big chunk into that. And so I really do appreciate the feedback. I'll go ahead and put this back out in social media, so maybe that will inspire somebody else to pay off some more school lunch debt. So I just thank you to them. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.